Welcome everybody to the Level Up Lifestyle podcast, where we promote self-responsibility, championship mindset, contributing to others, getting ahead in life, and never playing the victim. On this podcast, we do not blame others. We are here to get to the highest levels possible by taking charge of our lives. It is our duty, obligation, and responsibility to take care of our families, our future families, and ourselves. If that's you, welcome to the podcast. Let's get this episode started. I want to talk about how some of the top producers and top performers out there do not confuse momentum with yesterday's accomplishments means shit about what's going to get done today. Okay, what we did in the past means absolutely nothing. Yesterday's deals don't matter. Today, if you're in sales, you wake up at 0. Last week's deals don't matter. Every Monday morning, I'm waking up at 0 again. Last month's deals don't matter. The first of the month, I'm at 0, and we talked about this in the first podcast of the year. Last year's deals, last year's accomplishments, last year's victories don't mean anything on January 1st. I'm going back to square one, which is 0, on a daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly basis. So don't confuse your prior achievements and accomplishments and victories as a way to shortcut your actions to accomplish your victories today. All you get from those prior victories is the momentum. That's what you bring with you. And starting fresh like this is the state of mind that I absolutely love. It's that Jerry Rice story we talked about in prior podcasts where you win the Super Bowl yesterday, but this morning, I need to go run my routes and get better so that next season I can do it again. Right? Yes, carry the momentum, but do not carry the state of mind of, well, I already did it, so today I get to slack. Bring the momentum, not the actual victories. And I fucking love this mentality. This is how you drive momentum faster and stronger and faster and stronger every single day. It's not like we don't know that yesterday we killed it. It's not like we aren't being propelled forward from yesterday's victories. Of course we use that momentum. Of course we know that stuff, but we're really just using the momentum from it. And we just don't let it count today because that would allow us to take our foot off the gas and justify to ourselves and say things to ourselves like, it's okay to half-ass it today because yesterday I did awesome. No, dude, yesterday's gone and its victories don't carry over into today. Only the momentum from it does. What I think happens is when you use yesterday's victories to slow yourself down today, you lose that force behind you that seems to be naturally pushing you forward. That natural energy, the natural flow, the natural excitement, that universal law that says objects in motion are easier to stay in motion. That's what momentum is. And the second you start easing off of it, it'll start to slow down until it eventually stops again. And then what happens every time momentum comes to a complete stop? You have to push harder and start at 0 all over again. It's kind of like one of these antique well water pumps. You know, the ones you're pumping and pumping at first. You got to do it with your hand. And you sit there and you're pumping. And you don't see any water come out of the spout. So what do most people do in life? They stop pumping, right? I mean, why keep pumping? Nothing's coming out. There's no result. The water isn't coming out of the spout. Well, what's happening is that water is building up. The water is working its way up the pipes. And if you keep pumping, even when there's no result yet, it's working its way up. And as you keep pumping, what happens? At some point, you start to get a little drizzle. And then a small stream of water begins to come out. Now you're still pumping. And as you do, the stream of water, what happens to it? It gets bigger and bigger. And at some point, momentum kicks in and all of that pumping you did, you can start to get more and more water with less and less pumping. Momentum is actually doing it for you. But every time you completely stop pumping and let the water go all the way back down to the bottom, you have to start the process all over again. This is exactly how momentum works. And we do this with all aspects of our life. Or maybe I'm speaking about myself and how much this lesson applies to myself as well. There are things that we get in a great position in our life and then we stop. I do it too. We're all susceptible to this content in these podcasts, right? I don't make these because, there's some perfect recipe that I follow and you're not. And, that'd be some bullshit. That'd be a lie. In my first episode, I said I'm going to make these more or less just to get shit off my own chest, and I want to have fun with these. I'm just saying things that we all need reminders of. As you listen to these, I'm reminding myself the very lesson, and I know that others like to hear the message, want to be reminded of it, and for some of you, it might be the first time you hear some of these things. But more or less, don't ever listen to one of my podcasts thinking I'm telling you what you're doing wrong. I'm getting shit off my own chest and just sharing my message, and I hope that you relate with it. So some examples where I've taken my own foot off the momentum is things like after the Spartan race season is over. So at the end of every year, I have multiple races lined up, and normally one of them is an ultra race. So for months, I'll be lasered in. I'm using momentum twice a day to go put in the miles, go do crazy workouts, insane amounts of burpees and push-ups, and it feels great. I learned a major lesson last year. I ran an ultra race the weekend before Thanksgiving. So I did all this training for a couple of months. I got myself where I actually want to be on a normal basis, not just for this race, but on a normal basis, the level of health I want to be in. I go and I put in a 32-mile race, set the record for my best time, which I think was like 8.5 hours, not setting any world records here, but that was great for me. And then what happens? The next week is Thanksgiving. Do you think I took it easy? Do you think I followed the nutrition plan that I'd been on for the last 3 months? Or do you think I stopped pumping? I completely stopped pumping, and I gave myself a week to eat and do what I wanted to do. I actually went overboard. I actually went negative momentum because, hey, I just ran an ultra race. I've earned it. I've earned all the extra servings of dessert. I've earned to eat as much as I want. And that's legit, right? This is part of my podcast. We give ourselves excuses, and they can be legitimate excuses. But I say, fuck that. I learned my lesson this year. I will never stop pumping with my health and preparation for OCR and Spartan racing like that ever again. I learned my lesson to put the ultra race after Thanksgiving dinner next year so that I can get through the challenges and the temptation and all those excuses that are going through my head. I want to go through the holidays with all those extra plates and calories in front of me, knowing that next weekend after the holiday is over is when I actually need to be at my peak performance rather than the other way around. So that's just an example for me allowing my own pump to go all the way back down. So now as I'm shooting this, I'm back at it. I'm back where I need to be. I'm back in routine. But to lose all that momentum is not something that I want to allow myself to do once or twice a year. And this applies to all categories of life. That's just one example of how these lessons apply to all of us, myself included. That's why I shoot these. So when you do have the kind of momentum where you're loving the grind, you actually love putting in the work aspect, when you're actually enjoying those necessary actions, for me in this example, to be ultra Spartan ready, when you actually enjoy that grind, or in your case, maybe it's when you love waking up and going door to door and making sales, or you're looking forward to the running around with 3 kids, all needing to go to sports practices and games and whatever it is. Momentum is when life's drive is behind you with this invisible force, excelling you forward with far less effort and 100% less self-talk trying to stop you from doing the things you need to do. Your brain doesn't give you the self-talk trying to convince you out of it, at least not very often, because it's actually enjoying the process, the grind, the push, the busy schedule, whatever it is that you got to do, because that momentum is so strong behind it and you're actually enjoying the process. And my point from the beginning is once you have momentum on your side, keep pumping. Use the momentum. Just because the last bucket of water filled up almost effortlessly doesn't mean if you stop pumping, the next bucket will too. No, the momentum from yesterday's bucket is only as good as how primed you keep it. So one of those hand pumps, if you stop pumping, you can stop for a little bit. The water doesn't instantly drop back down, but don't let it go all the way back to the bottom. Keep pumping it. Keep it primed. Keep it ready. And when you're at the point and you've been priming your pump all month and all year long, you should be seeing that little trickle of water all the time. Or maybe you're seeing the steady flow of water all the time, aka results coming out of that faucet. So keep pumping it, baby. Keep priming that pump. Don't ever let it go all the way back to the bottom. You got to stay hungry. You have to stay pumping. So my question to you is, what areas of your life do you have momentum in as of right now? What areas are you struggling because you're not seeing the trickles of results yet? And which areas were you thriving in the past but dropped the handle and completely lost momentum? Identify these areas of your life and determine based on the level of importance in terms of what areas of life you want to level up in, and focus and get your ass pumping again. This is how you start and keep momentum. Identify the top 2 categories of your life right now and commit that you're going to get your hands back on that freaking pump and start pumping it again. If it's fitness, quit making excuses. Get back in the gym. Throw away the sugar. Get that crap out of your life. Don't make it a possibility and start pumping again. Okay, within a couple of weeks, you want to find yourself in that moment, in that momentum where you're looking forward to it, where you know like today's going to be a hard freaking workout, but that feeling of satisfaction when it's done is far greater than any crap my mind can try to tell me to stop and not go do it. If you're in sales and you're putting off going out in the field and you're saying next week this is happening, or I need to make my business cards, and then next week I can go out there and I'm going to do door to door. I'm going to kill it next week, even though it's only Monday. I'm giving myself 7 days. Fuck that. Get momentum on your side. You've got to get started. How you build momentum, even when you don't feel like it or you don't have any momentum on your side, is simply get started. You've got to start pumping that pump. And don't bitch when there's no results. Just know that you're priming. That is how you get there. And when you get a little trickle, pump harder. Don't say, oh, cool, I got a little bit of water. Let me take a sip and take my hand off the pump and let it go back down. Pump it. And when you start getting some results, pump it freaking harder until the results are flowing out naturally. Then and only then can you take a small rest, knowing that yes, it might go down just a tad, but I've pumped my ass off. I'm going to drink a glass of the rewards, and I'm going to get back to pumping long before I let it go all the way back down to the bottom. Because I do not want to keep starting over again. If you want to stop starting over, then stop stopping and start building momentum and keep it when you have it. Thank you, everybody, for listening to another episode of the Level Up Lifestyle Podcast. I want to invite and encourage you to email us for new topics, things that you'd like to hear about, any feedback, support, whatever you've got. Feel free to email us at admin@leveluplife.co. So that's admin@leveluplife.co. Also this year, we have some big events coming up, some big runs, some big bike rides that we're going to be using to raise funds for the 2 main causes that we're going to focus on this year, which are youth sports, because youth sports teaches kids the mindset and self-responsibility and teamwork and accountability and all the great things that we promote here. Youth sports is something that I feel is very much needed in the world. And the second thing is for drug and alcohol abuse. We've partnered with some great people, have some great things coming up. So keep a lookout for those. We will start promoting events. If you want to contribute to those things, we will be sending out some information. If you're not getting emails, if you're not on the YouTube channel to get videos and interviews that you will not find on the podcast, make sure you go get on the email list at www.leveluplife.co. Subscribe there. Thanks again for listening. Let's make a huge impact, help others, and grow our life in the meantime. See you at the top.